train cancellations due to staff shortage have already begun. Anybody who was planning to travel on the 7 o'clock train from here to Bristol Temple Meads, that has been cancelled. The number of cancellations here does not look as bad as other stations, but frankly, London Euston, the hub for the West Coast Main Line, linking the English capital with Midlands, Northwest England and Scotland. So far, I've got 24 cancellations on Avanti West Coast. And this is, of course, on a really busy travel day. So many people trying to get where they need to be. 6 cancellations to and from Glasgow, 4 to and from Manchester, 2 to and from Liverpool. And of course, there'll be lots of Arsenal fans travelling on there. And continuing on the East Coast Main Line, a number of cancellations between London and Leeds, London and Lincoln on LNER. The train companies, of course, are saying, don't worry, you can travel either side of that, but it's just going to increase the pressure.
Travellers making journeys for Christmas. It is the final countdown. Motoring organisations are predicting severe congestion on some key stretches of motorways. Rail passengers face a combination of staff shortages and weather disruption as they try to make their journeys. And some airline passengers are facing long delays and cancellations. Well, let's speak to the independent travel correspondent, Simon Calder. He's been watching the disruption, joining us this morning from Paddington Station in London, which, well, quite frankly, Simon, I'm guessing it's going to be pretty busy at Paddington today.
It is. Good morning, Chloe. Good morning, Callum. Yes, let me tell you what's happening here. This entire station is going to be closed tomorrow on Christmas Eve because of engineering works, which is taking place right through to and including the 27th of December. It's all to do, incidentally, with HS2, that high-speed train which may be running from somewhere near London to Birmingham. Anyway, therefore, things are going to be really busy here, but I am sorry to say that already the train cancellations due to staff shortage have already begun. Anybody who was planning to travel on the 7 o'clock train from here to Bristol Temple Meads, that has been cancelled. The number of cancellations here does not look as bad as other stations, but frankly, London Euston, the hub for the West Coast Main Line, linking the English capital with Midlands, Northwest England and Scotland. So far, I've got 24 cancellations on Avanti West Coast. And this is, of course, on a really busy travel day. So many people trying to get where they need to be. 6 cancellations to and from Glasgow, 4 to and from Manchester, 2 to and from Liverpool. And of course, there'll be lots of Arsenal fans travelling on there. And continuing on the East Coast Main Line, a number of cancellations between London and Leeds, London and Lincoln on LNER. The train companies, of course, are saying, don't worry, you can travel either side of that, but it's just going to increase the pressure. And my goodness, people, I think, really need to travel today. King's Cross Station is going to be closed tomorrow as well. And northern trains are saying we simply won't be able to cover our normal services on a number of routes on Christmas Eve. So do not travel on routes such as Manchester, Victoria to Chester. So therefore, you've really kind of got to get your travelling in today on the trains. And in Scotland, they're expecting severe weather, heavy rain and snow forecast. So therefore, for example, there won't be any trains on the beautiful West Highland line from Glasgow Queen Street to Fort William and to Oban.
Simon, there is so much to unpick there. First of all, staff shortages and cancellations. What is this? People just phoning in sick because they don't fancy going to work a couple of days before Christmas? I mean, how can there be so many staff shortages?
Well, the railway industry has a big problem with staffing anyway, in particular with train drivers, which is one reason we've seen such appalling cancellations right across the year. They simply weren't able to train enough drivers during COVID, and therefore the industry, which has long been run on lots of overtime anyway, when you've got also toxic industrial relations and the row between ASLEF, the Train Drivers Union, and the train operators, the government effectively, that's been rumbling on for 18 months. People aren't willing to cover those shifts. Add to that the fact that some northern trains are run on a Sunday as a voluntary day of work basis. And therefore, if people quite understandably think, I don't fancy working Christmas Eve, they can't be made to do that. So it's really indicative of what a mess the whole industry is in, and specifically on the West Coast main line, where you've got 24 cancellations and a whole load of curtailments. So your London, Birmingham, Edinburgh train might only be going as far as the Midlands. They are saying we've got historic leave agreements with drivers, which mean that basically they can say, we want to have time off over Christmas. Nothing we can do about that. They've trimmed back their schedules anyway, and these cuts are on top of that.
Gosh, right, let's talk about the roads. We should also talk about the airports. I mean, there were real problems yesterday, weren't there, around Dover? How are we looking on the roads and the airports and the ports today?
Yeah, you're quite right, Chloe. Dover was actually the main problem yesterday. The motoring organisations had been warning of really serious congestion, basically from 10 in the morning till 6 in the evening, anywhere in Britain, as the commuters and normal truck deliveries and 3 million people going off on their getaway journeys got underway. But in fact, it was actually just down in East Kent, where there were long queues up to 90 minutes or so. But that was squarely a kind of post-Brexit dividend. We've got a hard EU frontier now at Dover between the cliffs and the Channel, and that just takes a long time to get through. So, yes, they are saying today, try and avoid the middle of the day. If there's people listening as they're driving away on their getaway journey, you can feel smug because you're well ahead of the pack. And the M25 west of London, the M1 northbound through Northamptonshire, and the M6 southbound through Staffordshire are predicted to be especially busy with long waits. But as you know, traffic jams can pop up anywhere if there's a little bit of disruption.
Absolutely. Airports, how are they looking?
Oh, right. Yesterday, we kind of got through what was the busiest day of the winter at Heathrow and Bristol, Birmingham, Aberdeen, Glasgow, Edinburgh, and that kind of got through. There were a couple of dozen cancellations on British Airways. Today, it's the turn of Manchester and Stansted, and they're looking all right so far. What we had last night coming into Manchester was just a whole load of flights which are delayed typically by 2-3 hours, and there'll probably be people driving home now who were kind of just found that delays built up during the day and they were late getting in. But people who won't be driving home are those who are on Qatar Airways flight due in about half an hour ago. That took off, flew to northern Iraq. After a couple of hours, it turned around and went back to Doha in Qatar. I don't know what it was. I presume some kind of technical issue. That means you've now got 300 people who thought they were going to be in Manchester who aren't. And from what I'd seen of previous Qatar Airways disruption, they will kind of be brought back to Manchester, but it will probably involve flying via random places like Vienna or Paris to get there. So a bit of disruption there. Elsewhere, things are looking all right. But if we got very strong winds, particularly in the London area, with Heathrow being the world's busiest 2-runway airport, Gatwick being the world's busiest single-runway airport, when you've got strong winds, you've got flow reductions. British Airways has already cancelled 16 short-haul flights today. There could be more delays and cancellations. Good luck, everybody.
Gosh, yeah, strap yourselves in. Simon, always good to speak to you. Thank you so much. Simon Calder, the independent travel correspondent.